was a father in every home.
This is what a lot of children need. They don't have things to do now.
We were raised by everybody down here.
I grew up in West Oakland, graduated from McClymonds High School.
I was fortunate enough to work with some of the most gifted young people on the planet.
Glad to see that the community is still able to come together in a positive way.
Good, clean fun right here in West Oakland.
I came from a very loving and caring family.
I'm proud to be from West Oakland with all the history.
West Oakland is the greatest place you can be.
I felt all of that today, because I said, I'm somebody's child.
So that history will record in perpetuity Oakland, California, and the African American Association, so our children will know exactly what we did here.
Welcome to Oakland Is, and I'm your host today, Zina Hall, and I'm here with the esteemed Ed Howard, producer, director, and writer. Welcome, Ed.
Thank you, Dina.
Thank you for being here. Ed is actually a pioneer of the city of Oakland, and he has put together a wonderful film. It's a movie premiere, West Oakland Stories of 1940s, 50s, and 60s. How long has that been taking place? How long have you had to put that together?
Well, I actually have a long history. It's been in development about 3 years.
Yes.
Had some complications. The film was actually tried to be taken from me.
Oh.
I had to fight that. I had to go through court, won that, and now I'm ready to show it.
Okay. And it's a documentary?
It's a documentary on West Oakland of my time, the 40s, 50s, and 60s. And the reason why I produced the film is because in my generation, we were very positive.
Okay.
I'm in my senior years now. Looking back, I didn't know that while I was going through developing everything, but now I understand that my generation was a very positive generation coming up in West Oakland. We were all coming out of the South, Louisiana, Texas, Georgia, whatever. Got to Oakland as kids, and we began to develop.
Okay.
And we did many, many things, and that's what this film is about. I have maybe 50, 60 people in the film who are about my age, who, before we die, I want to film this and get what we're talking about.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So you'll be telling stories about real history of Black Americans,
exactly.
African Americans, whatever you would like to call us, here in Oakland. I had no idea that there were that many pioneers even around that could share that wealth of information.
Exactly. And matter of fact, since I've started developing the film,
yes.
I know personally at least 5 people who have passed. So we're on our way out.
Okay.
I want to document this so the younger people can see what we did and hear from the actual people. Oakland, especially West Oakland, is famous. It's known around the world because of my generation and what we did. But everyone else is telling that story.
Okay.
This will be the first time you're going to hear from people like myself, who was there, grew up there. We knew, I went to school with Bill Russell. I went to school with Frank Robin. These are the famous people.
Wonderful.
But the people in this film are the people who actually was doing the work, but no one knows about. No one knows about me.
Well, we do now.
Right. And I can tell you stories rather than tell you their story. My story, as a young man, I was hired by Kaiser Engineers downtown Oakland in the 60s.
Excellent.
This was like no blacks had white collar jobs during this time.
Wonderful.
I was a pioneer in this area.
Oh my goodness. I can only imagine what the film will entail if we have folks that are portrayed just like what you're just sharing with us right now. It's going to be a wonderful adventure. You don't want to miss that. Oakland's great Black history began here in West Oakland. The film will give Oakland Black people a feeling of pride and love for each other. Every Black family must see this film. Thank you for joining us for Oakland Is. And I'm your host today, Zina Hall, and I'm joined by two dynamic women, two authors. One is a creator and publisher of Career Magazine, Stephanie C. Harper, and she's also an author of several best-selling books, as well as Paulette Harper, no relation, by the way, although I think there really is. Paulette Harper is also the founder of Right Now Literary Virtual Book Tours. She's a speaker, coach, and literary consultant who is also the author of several award-winning books, most recently publicized Princess Nevaeh. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you
to Oakland Is.
Thank you for having us.
Okay. Well, I think I'm going to start with Stephanie C. Harper. We want to make sure that we emphasize that, make sure there's a distinction. Right. You're affectionately called the Queen of Careers. Now, how did you get that title?
Just doing what I do. I'm an HR professional by trade. I've been in the field for over 20 years, and I've done quite well with my, I guess what they call accolades and accomplishments. And so, you know, they say if you want to know what to do as it relates to your career, go see Stephanie. I didn't give myself that name, others did. So
that's why you got the C,
Stephanie C. It's for career.
There you go. Wow. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you. And Miss Paulette.
Yes.
I would like to know, I met you several years ago on another set, and you were introducing your book or speaking on your book. That was then, this is now.
Yeah.
And you can see, I know that title just like off the top of my head. Tell us how you got into the writing industry.
Well, that first book came because of the trials and testings that I had gone through with the divorce. And so that really pushed me into writing. And that first book was really the book that really set it off for me to be able to write other books from then.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Well, let's see here. Sometimes you like to know, a person would like to try to figure out, how do I transition myself from being the normal, everyday who I am into what is buried inside of me? How do I excel? How do I pull myself out of that and start working out those precious jewels that's in my future, my dreams? Stephanie, how did you start that?
Wow, that's a loaded question.
It is a loaded question.
The start, where I was when I started would not be what I would advise someone today. So my start came like Paulette's out of tragedy. You know, I had been laid off for the first time ever in my career, and I actually wrote my first book while sleeping on my girlfriend's couch. I had lost everything. And so the first book that I wrote was called Why Should I Hire You? And it was 26 chapters, and it was 26 questions why a person should hire me. But that would not be the same advice that I would tell someone because everybody's journey is different. And I think that's one of the problems, is that we try to walk in someone else's path when we can really only walk out our own. But if I were to tell someone how to pull what's inside of them, I would tell them to look at the end to find out where to begin. What is it that you want out of this? Where do you want to see yourself? You know, what do you want to do with this? And many times as it relates to publishing, people say, I want to tell my story. Well, why do I need to be interested in your story? You know, what's different about your story? That, you know, what is it about your story that's going to make me want your book? And I think as it relates to publishing, that's one of the big mistakes. I bet you could probably agree with that, is that people say, I want to tell my story, but not knowing the effect or the impact of your story is where people fail to start.
Wonderful. That's loaded. Do you have anything to add to that?
I think, too, also people have to know what their passion is and what their desires are in life. And if they're doing something just out of the norm, find out what it is that drives you. Find out what it is that really motivates you and moves you and pushes you, really. Because once you find what that passion is, that's really what's going to drive you to do something different in life.
I love it. You mentioned the word passion, and in preparing for today's show, that was one thing that I shared with both of you. Taking that passion and that desire. You have full lives. You have families, your career. How do you turn that passion into an actual product? And when I say product, I mean here. We have magazines and we have books that have evolved over a period of time. How do you take that and turn it into something that's of substance?
Yeah, I think when it comes to a book or a magazine, you have to visualize that.
Okay.
You have to visualize what you see. And if you can visualize it and you can see it come into fruition, then you can do it. And so people have passions to do many things. I know for me, writing a book wasn't something that I had a desire to do. It was something God had called me into because of things that I had gone through. But because I knew that that was what the Lord wanted me to do, I moved in that. And in the process of moving in that, I learned about how to write a book, and then, you know, the channels that I needed to do to make sure that my book came to production.
I see. And you, Stephanie?
I'm probably going to say the complete opposite, because passion has never paid any bills for me. Passion has never paid the bills for me, but persistence is profitable. And I think many times persistence is profitable. And I think many times we give up. You know, we give up, this is too hard, or I don't have the money, or I don't know how to do it, or I don't know where to start, and we give up. And so I think, you know, yes, you have to have that drive. You have to have that something in you, and that's why I say see the end before you can, you know, when you realize where you're going, when you have a roadmap of where you're going, it's a lot easier to get there. So, you know, people come to me all the time, you know, my coaching clients, how can I, you know, I want to find out what my passion is. I can't tell you what your passion is. You have to know what you're passionate about. And there's no coach on this planet that can help you find that. If you don't know what's in you, if you don't know what you're made of, then you're going to have a very hard time producing a profit.
That's good.
That's perfect. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So, ladies, I would pause to say, one, I wanted to mention some of your materials. Stephanie, you've written a book called A Kingdom Built Career.
Yes.
Why Should I Hire You?
Yes.
And Career Tips.
Career Tips, yes.
How would we get a hold of that book if we want?
StephanieHarper.com. And find it at StephanieHarper.com.
Wonderful, wonderful. And Paulette, you've written Completely Whole, which is a reader's favorite award.
Yeah.
Okay. In 2011, that was a silver medal received on that.
Yeah.
You also produced a writer's manual. That was then, This Is Now, which I believe was a 2008 Next Generation Indie Book Award finalist, correct? Okay. You've written Victorious, Living Separate Lives, and Princess Nevaeh?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I say that to say this. In Oakland, sometimes we figure that, you know, there's talent there, but we tend to take that talent and go somewhere else. Or it is not groomed. It's not honed. It's not nurtured. How can what would you share with any young man or woman that would be an important and integral step in moving forward? So I have my vision. I have my passion. But who do I go to? Where do I get resources? How do I come out of my box? What's my next step? I have my high school diploma. I have some education. What do I do?
Call either one of us.
Yeah.
I know. Call.
Yeah, that's
so
great.
You both are also on Facebook as well, yes?
Yes.
And
Yes.
LinkedIn and
all the social media. All the social media.
I would have never guessed that, especially with all of the writing and literature here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Paulette and I have worked together in the past.
Yes.
You know, I've done workshops for her.
Exactly.
And you know, we're not competition.
That's right.
You know, we
work
are
together.
Sisters.
Yeah.
I
And
want you all to say that again.
Yeah,
we are
not
sisters.
Competition.
Sisters, and you're not in competition.
We're not in competition. She has her base. I have mine.
Exactly.
You know, we have something for everybody.
That's
you know,
true.
and I think that's one of the things as it relates to your comment about the Bay Area and grooming. You know, you don't have to be worried about what somebody else is doing. In fact, I might call Paulette. Paulette and I, we have lunch together. We process ideas. So, you know, you might call me for some book coaching, and I might say, Paulette, what can I do for this client? So you just never know who's connected to each other.
That's
you
true.
know,
That's
we've been trying to find out if there is a connection, and there's a Family Harper Facebook page, and you know, we've had our stuff researched, and so we've just decided that we're family.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. Well, can you speak to a few of your accomplishments, okay, in terms of your schooling or where you grew up, whatever you'd like to share with the audience?
Well, I think one of my greatest accomplishments is really my awards that I've gotten for writing my books, and really being where God wants me to be at is one of my greatest accomplishments, because this is a place where I wouldn't have chosen for myself. But I know this is the place that God has ordained for me to be at, and so for me, that's a great accomplishment, that I can push back everything that has happened in my life, all the good, all the bad, to be in a place where I'm at total peace and in the perfect will of God.
Beautiful.
Wonderful. I love it.
Beautiful.
Stephanie?
Well, I was born and raised in Fairfield. I left right after high school, went to Los Angeles and then to Atlanta, which is where I, found myself, so to speak. My accomplishments are many. People say don't brag. I say it's not bragging, it's branding. Hello.
Branding. I asked that specifically because accomplishments, that's important.
Yeah, they are. They're milestones.
That is your profit.
It is.
In some way.
It is. Okay. But I mean, I've been a radio host for 91.9 in Atlanta, an employment expert. I have published both traditionally and non-traditionally. I have been on the Steve Harvey Show. I have.
You have to tell us about that.
I have published 13 books. Been publishing Career Magazine since 2008. But my greatest accomplishment, Zina, is being married to my high school sweetheart.
And you have a lovely family.
I do have a lovely family. Thank you.
Well, actually, you both have lovely families.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that is a wonderful thing, and it's important to have a good foundation.
Absolutely.
Whether it's a network of friends, which we are, and or if it's your family, and of course your faith. Whatever that is, that of course we believe in God, but whatever that is, where your grounding is, where you go to rejuvenate yourself, that's a very, very important component. Okay, because if you don't take time to reinvest in yourself, whether it's a one-on-one time, whatever that is, that refuels you, you'll never be able to go to the next level.
And investment is important. I think that's another thing too. As it relates to your question about how people can go forth. Me personally, I've been deemed an expert in my field. So if you want my expertise, you have to know that there's an investment that comes along with that. And if I were just talking about something simple as preparing for the job search and investing in a resume, there's people who charge $500, $1,200 for resumes, and the job seeker looks back and says, "Oh, I don't want to pay that for a piece of paper." The mindset there has to change because it's not a piece of paper; it's the financial document that's going to set you up for the payment that you want. And so, when you're able to change that mindset of knowing what you need, and the other thing too, if we can just speak to job seekers for a minute, don't wait until you're in a rut to prepare those things. Keep your resume updated, keep your personal sites updated, and be careful about what you're doing on social media because HR professionals like myself, we do Google people.
I love it.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay. And Paulette, can you tell me a little bit more about your last publication? I think that's very important to speak to. Princess Nevaeh.
Princess Nevaeh.
Yes.
Yeah, Princess Nevaeh is my oldest granddaughter's name, and I have a youngest granddaughter as well named Aaliyah. But Nevaeh asked her Mimi one day, which is what she calls me, if I could write a book with her name in it.
Beautiful.
So that book was really inspired by her. She asked me if I could write a book because she knew I was a writer, and I told her that I would. And a couple of days went by, and she said, "Mimi, are you done with my book?" And I said, "Oh, not yet." So I went ahead and did it. So it's really about her having a relationship with her Mimi in the book. And Princess Nevaeh, she's asking her Mimi how to become a princess.
Oh, beautiful.
And at the end of the story, I really tell Nevaeh that she has always been a princess.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and it's also on audio as well.
Oh, that's
really?
beautiful.
Yes.
Stephanie.
Yes, darling.
This Career Magazine, you've been in publication for quite some time.
Yes.
Been in publication quite some time, and I can barely even hold them. Give me an idea of some of the articles that you have publicized in your magazine.
We talk about everything from employment to entrepreneurship, and we also consider book publishing and being an author. We call it authorpreneurship because there is definitely a profit to be made. But we talk about everything from life after layoff, the recruiting process. You know, books are a business, which is also a product that I have. We talk about HR trends, things that are happening, because a lot of small businesses don't have a formal HR department. So we try to be a breath of education for small business owners who, you know, may have staff, but not necessarily have the HR background that they have. But I mean, we talk about a gamut of things, anything from onboarding to termination as it relates to employment. And then, of course, we talk about things that entrepreneurs face, you know, the stay-at-home mom, how to be productive at home. We talk about, you know, publishing. I mean, it's just an information. It's a nugget of information. If you want to know how to prosper in what you do, you know, Career Magazine is definitely a resource for you.
Give us an idea of some of the current trends.
In human resources?
Yes.
Well, social media is big right now. Emotional intelligence is big right now. People want to know if you're crazy.
Emotional intelligence.
Emotional intelligence is very big right now. You know, the whole hiring thing, you know, I can't stress enough about social media. You know, people are getting hired and fired all the time about what's going on in social media. You know, I tell my clients all the time, have a personal page and a business page. And if you're going to have a personal page, make sure it's locked down as securely as you can. Because I believe people have a right to live, you know. But you do have to be mindful of, you know, what you're putting out there, because you know what, it's your electronic footprint and it's your brand. You know, it's part of who you are. And even though you are an employee, you still have an employment brand. And so people have to be mindful of their electronic footprints, whether they are an employee, whether they are an entrepreneur, you still have an electronic footprint. So you gotta be mindful of it.
Wonderful. Okay. Now, ladies, what nuggets would you leave with our audience today? You know, if there's an impression that you want to leave, what would that be? Because it took some time for you to establish where you are.
Right.
And I think that is important to our community. It's important to esteem. It's important to lives. To hear and see role models just like yourself, as polished as you are and as accomplished as you are. What nugget would you leave for someone, or what tip of information or hope would you leave?
Well, I think for me, it's really not allowing the tragedies of life to stop you. You know, really learn from them, learn the lessons from them, but learning how to move past that, because we're going to always have tests and trials in life. That's just never going to go away. But if we can learn how to maneuver and capitalize on those things to find out what we can learn from them and move forward, and then really, you know, achieve something greater than where we are right now. Yeah.
I love it. Okay,
I would agree with that wholeheartedly. The only thing that I would add to it is teamwork makes the dream work. You know, whatever it is that you want to do, make sure that you have a support team, you know. Make sure that you have people that support you, and people that will hold up your arms when you get weak and when you get tired, because it's easy to give up. It's easy to slip back. It's easy to say, you know, no, this is too hard. I'm just going to go back into corporate, you know. It's really easy to give up, especially when you have already lost something. So, you know, the only thing that I would add to what Paulette said is, you know, build that team. You know, make sure that you have a team around you that helps you to keep your arms up.
Well, thank you so much. Congratulations to both of you and your accomplishments.
Thank you.
We look forward to seeing you on major platforms in the world.
Thank you.
We really do.
Thanks
Maybe
a lot.
even a red carpet here and there.
Okay.
Hey, we can create our own.
That's right.
It's profitable.
Again, thank you for joining us, Stephanie C. Harper.
Thank you.
And Paulette Harper.
Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful artists and authors. Amen.
Thank you.
See, I said amen there. You see where I am. Amen.
That's all right.
But that's okay.
That means it is so.
That concludes this episode of Oakland Is. And as you can see, we keep it real. It's important to keep it real all the time. And you can actually take a look at us on YouTube. It's Oakland Is TV, or you can go to oaklandistv.com and take a look at all of the episodes and archives of the past. Thank you so much for joining us today.